Welcome aboard to Final Approach to Game Day. It is your boys, Christopher SoWal and Colin Bester, both of Mid-Bay News. Our esteemed colleagues, Heath and Hunter, are out. So it's just us on the vibes. Niceville's off this week. It makes sense.
Yeah, they took a late bye week.
I'm telling you, man. So Niceville off this week, so you won't be seeing a ton of stuff in the future, but we do have some recaps to get through as we look at last week. Last Thursday night, Mosley came to town to play Niceville, and it looks like it wasn't going to end well after the first half of football. You can see Niceville trotting out on the field, but they did okay on defense, right, early, but eventually we go down 13 points at the half, and a lot of people were worried that they might just kind of give up, and they didn't. They took it all the way back, got them to overtime. You can see Jacoby Gilliard here in the first half. Look at this run, man.
Oh, this is a great play.
Like, so he's 14, or he's 14 years old, number 14, and a freshman. Kid can run. And is that him again? I believe it is. No, it's Trey Geiger. But eventually, they'd make it almost all the way back, get that overtime loss, a tough overtime loss for the Niceville Eagles, who are now 4-4 on the year, but are still in the playoff picture, Colin.
Yeah, I feel like, if we talked about 2 weeks ago, I don't think Niceville would have been in the playoff conversation with Milton and Mosley having great years, especially other teams in 5A having great years as well. But Niceville picking up a couple key wins now, improving to 4-4. Easy games ahead of them lie await or in the future with Navarre, obviously, but their toughest test for them is the Milton Panthers coming up. So for them, I think they're still in playoff destiny. They still have to win these games. They have a bye week, which is crucial for them, but coming off a bye week, facing the Milton Panthers is a very tough task for them. We talked to Josh from Florida High School football last week about that game, and right now he said Niceville by a point would be the line. So it could go either way in that matchup, but Milton has to get through West Florida High. They can't focus on Niceville like the Eagles are right now.
Yeah, so the Eagles are off this week, and Milton does have West Florida High. We're going to be looking at those picks later in the show because we got a big one for you, but let's go to the other big game we covered this week. South Walton decided to just, I guess, completely steamroll Freeport in a way that I was completely unprepared for. But there was one highlight for Freeport that I want to highlight or put on the screen, and that's Julius Miles. Julius Miles, of course, Louisville commit that plays at Freeport. You can see who he is already because he's 6'6". And, he plays free safety. Check this out. Boom. Gone. Took it almost all the way back. It was just like unreal to watch that. Julius Miles, great player. Didn't give up either. You'll see, and I think the next highlight that we're going to show you. No, not this one. I think there's another catch from him. Yeah. And you can hear me say, oh my goodness. So this is on a 2-point conversion to make it 35 points. And Julius Miles was not giving up the points to make it a running clock game. He did not give up the entire night, even though, he had plenty of reason to. 50-9 was the final score, Colin.
Yeah, and it was interesting seeing you and seeing the videos and you could hear Hunter in some of these videos, and I know your dad Steven was there as well. It seemed like a Mid-Bay News watch party over there in South Walton. But now I think for them, they're probably one of the most impressive teams throughout this entire season. District 1-2A is becoming sort of, I think, one of the most competitive districts in football in terms of Northwest Florida football, because you still have Pensacola Catholic, you still have Freeport still in the mix for a playoff spot as well. But I think South Walton right now, I think that Choctaw game, even though they lost 38-6, doesn't really tell the full picture. This Choctaw team the South Walton team came to play. This South Walton team was the first team to score points on them in regulation. That wasn't in garbage time. So J.D. Brown, it looks like to me by watching his box score week after week after week, seemed to get better and better and better. And a team getting this hot this late in a season will certainly bode well for them in a couple weeks when they go to playoff football.
And yeah, so when they played Freeport last week, we didn't see a whole lot of J.D. Brown. No touchdowns this past weekend, even though he's just blown it up the last couple weeks, because Phil Teza doesn't like to throw the ball until they absolutely have to. He likes to get the the ground attack going. And I want to show you one kid that really impressed me on offense and then one on defense. So the offensive player is William Justice. You can see William, number 24 over here, just throwing the football casualty. Yeah, he was the only passing touchdown on the evening. You can see J.D. Brown handing it over to William Justice as well on this one, knocking over Julius Miles, and it's taken 5 or 6 guys to take him down. He's a power runner, power back that Catholic is going to have to watch out for next week. Look at him go after Julius Miles again. And I think he had 2 touchdowns on the ground.
3.
3. Well, was it 2 rushing and 1 passing? Or was it 3 on the ground?
3 on the ground, 1 passing.
Well, dadgum. So he got an extra one that I thought he got. But the kid was just truly impressive this past weekend. I'm really looking forward to them playing Catholic. And then on defense, Connor Rooney. And I don't want to give anything away, but watch the last play just to make sure that this one was a touchdown. But this first one ran all the way back on Carter Nunes, who we said was probably one of the better quarterbacks here in Northwest Florida. And then he threw a sack. Or this is his sack, I think. Yeah. This is just the total defense. My bad, guys. But yeah, Connor Rudy, guys, was just incredible. 2 touchdowns off of interceptions. And I mean, there's not much more you can say about this guy. I mean, what except for this. That's not a touchdown. Still counted it. 2 touchdowns, 12 points to his name. A incredible, unheralded defensive effort from South Walton, whose defense is really heating up. They're looking really good. And that's why I got him on the sleeper pick, man. I really do think South Walton can beat this Catholic team.
It's going to be a tough ask for South Walton. I think with Catholic right now, Jalen Brown, who's the quarterback for Catholic, is slowly becoming one of the better quarterbacks in Northwest Florida. Unfortunately, Catholic has played a lot of either really good teams or really bad teams. I mean, they only have 1 loss, and that was to Pace. And if we look at the power rankings later, you'll see why Pace is up there. Obviously, they have an incredible rushing attack and a stifling defense. But for this matchup next week for both of these teams, the winner goes to the playoffs guaranteed. Now, if South Walton beats Pensacola Catholic, I think both teams go. If South Walton loses to Pensacola Catholic, I think South Walton still is 2-1 in district play. I still think they go. All the other teams in 2A don't have as quite a good of resume as the Seahawks right now. But if you're a Freeport fan, you're hoping that South Walton loses 2 of the next 3 games for them, which this week and next week for South Walton, it could be that's probably more likely than not, considering they go on the road to Wakulla tonight, and then they're at Pensacola Catholic the week after. Actually, sorry, no, they have Wakulla at home. My apologies. It's their last home game of the season. So, and then it's Pensacola Catholic. So for even though Wakulla is making the 2-hour drive from the eastern side of the Big Bend region to Santa Rosa Beach, that team can travel, and that Wakulla War Eagle team has one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Florida. So a win tonight for South Walton is going to be a tough task, but it's surely doable.
Yeah, and just taking a quick look at this playoff picture that we have put together, brought to you by Ryan Cabinet State Farm. You can see the playoff picture. We had a long discussion about this one today, Colin.
Yeah.
And you can see there are district winners. You can see the little medals next to them. They're guaranteed 100% going to playoffs. But we decided to add them in with the certified locks because you can't sit here and tell me that Choctaw is not going to go to the playoffs. They're playing Fort Walton Beach tonight, I believe. Is that right, or next week?
They're off. Choctaw's off this week.
That's right. Choctaw's off this week. They're playing Fort Walton Beach next week. Fort Walton Beach they've been bad for 25 years. And I mean, mathematically, they haven't been eliminated. But
yeah, mathematically, they haven't been eliminated because Choctaw, Fort Walton Beach is 1-1 in district play. Choctaw is 2-0 in district play right now. If Fort Walton Beach goes and beats Choctaw, technically by district record, Fort Walton Beach could become the district champions, but they have an overall losing record. But right now, as it stands, if you look at that 4A picture, it's kind of muddy because the entire 1-4A, which is Escambia, Pine Forest, Booker T, Washington, are still in it right now. And if the season ended today, the FHSAA deemed all 3 of those teams going to the playoffs, with Booker T, Washington playing Choctaw, which will be a very interesting game on paper. But if you look below those three teams, you see Rickards, and you're like, why? Why is Rickards there? Well, they beat Fort Walton Beach straight up, and they lost to Arnold, unfortunately. So they're 1-1. But you do have one more district game, I think, left to go, and the FHSA has deemed it that they're good enough to be in the playoffs at this moment. So 1-4A is more wide open compared to 3A. I would say 6A a little bit more because I think one of those teams is going to go and one of those teams is going to stay home. And you look at Milton and Niceville, I think the winner of that game next week goes to the playoffs in my eyes. So 4A is just a mess. And even though Fort Walton Beach isn't mathematically eliminated from the 4A picture,
come on, man.
Christopher didn't want to include them in that picture.
That is not what happened. I started working on it and you deleted it. All right. Don't put me on this boat by myself.
Okay. Well, I said, where's Fort Walton Beach? And you're like, brother.
Okay. So fine. So now I can't drive south the racetrack. Fantastic.
Well, it's fine. But
it is what it is.
But I will say the rule bubble, Baker's likely going to go. There's 16 teams that get in the Region 1 bracket in the rules. Baker right now is 10th, even though they're 8-0. Right now, they're second in the region behind Bluntstown, who's also undefeated. They're one of two undefeated teams left in the rule bracket. You'll see at the very bottom, kind of on purpose, kind of not on purpose, but that's a J Royal logo. They need a lot of help to get in the rule bracket right now. They're 2-4. They're 0-2 in district play, but they're not eliminated because they have 2 district matchups remaining in the season. So if they win those games, and a lot of teams lose in the future, Jay could somehow get into the playoffs as well. So right now, I think we have about 12 teams out of the 28 teams in the Northwest Florida in our Mid-Bay News coverage area that have playoff trips to St. Augustine on their mind. And I know Gareth Stearns, I talked to him. He's the voice of the Choctaw Indians. He said he already bought his hotel room.
Dadgum. Okay.
Augustine. So he is putting a lot of hopes in the Choctaw Indians basket. But it looks like they're going to have to get through St. Augustine, which, according to a friend of the program, Seth Stringer, who is the sports writer over at the Daily News, Choctaw's 2-1. St. Augustine's 2-1 against Choctaw in the playoffs. So that's going to be a very interesting storyline to watch moving forward.
Yeah, guys. Well, when we come back, we'll be talking about the games that are coming up this week. We'll be talking about our power rankings, our pick 'em. We got a lot more show left to do, including an interview I got with Phil Tiza, which we probably should have put in this block, but we didn't. So we'll see you guys in just a minute. You know your lawn's looking a little bit janky. All those busted up sprinkler heads, dead patches. It's okay though. Final Approach Irrigation's got you. Their experienced and knowledgeable staff will quickly diagnose the problem and get right to work fixing it. Final Approach Irrigation is the best in the game, and they'll keep your lawn looking undefeated this fall. The refs won't be throwing any flags on them. They'll do you right every single time. Absolutely fair and transparent pricing, along with honest work ethic and integrity. Check them out over at finalapproachirrigation.com to get started today. Thanks again to our friends at Final Approach Irrigation for sponsoring this show and making sure you know everything there is to know about high school football here on the Emerald Coast this season.
I'm doing my best Hunter Brockville thing.
Look, man, that's my boy. Hunter Brock's my boy. And he brings us the football news thanks to his sponsorship of Final Approach Game Day with Final Approach Irrigation. You need irrigation help? Talk to Hunter. Hunter knows actually what he's doing. He's actually licensed here in Okaloosa County. Many people are not. And he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. He is flying planes today because that's something else he does. He's kind of a Renaissance man. Mm-hmm. And so we're holding down the fort for him. Again, I am Christopher SoWal. He is Colin Bester. And we are Mid-Bay News. And we're here on Final Approach Game Day to talk a little bit more about South Walton. I mean, yeah, so let's see. They've got Wakulla at home tonight. That's a big game for them. And then they've got another one at Catholic. So I talked to Phil Tiza, and this is why I split it up. Because we're picking games.
You're genius.
This is why I split it up, like my 1-year-old. Let's hear from Phil Tiza about the game last week and the stuff that's coming up next.
We just did a good job of preparing preparing this week. Defense had a really solid game plan last year. They made some tweaks, and they were clicking. 2 big defensive touchdowns and a blocked punt. And then offensively, we just had success. Felt like we could do that based on the defensive look we were getting and try to use that to open up the pass, but then didn't end up needing to go to the pass.
Your defense was able to shut down Julius Miles, a highly touted Louisville recruit. How did you guys figure out to game plan for him specifically?
Similar last year. Last year we held him to 3 catches for 12 yards. They try and get him the ball. He's a phenomenal player, so we're just going to try and take that away from him and make somebody else beat us.
A couple weeks, Catholic. That's the big game that everybody's going to circle on their calendar now. How are you feeling about that with such a dominant win over this team that also Catholic was able to beat in dominant fashion?
I haven't seen enough of them yet. Obviously I know what they were last year. I don't think they're quite that same team, but they're obviously still pretty strong. It'd be a phenomenal thing, but we got to go do it on the road at their house.
Right on. So, Phil Teza sounded pretty confident. When I was talking to him, I forgot about Wakulla. I should have asked him about Wakulla, but I didn't. I was just totally hyper-focused on Catholic. Catholic, a very good team, I know they're top 3 in our power rankings, and we'll reveal exactly where they are here in a little bit. But Colin, what do you think about that interview from Coach Teza? What do you think about their chances tonight against Wakulla?
Well, Wakulla is going to be probably even tougher than Pensacola Catholic. Florida high school football, Josh Wilson has a supercomputer where he puts out all the rankings and all the stats, and into the supercomputer predicts the game. Right now, it's the closest line that we have in the 5 games we're picking. It's South Walton by 1 right now. I could say it's a push. I could say it goes either way. For South Walton, they have to stop probably one of the best quarterbacks in the state right now with Wakulla. Sorry, his name escapes me at this time. I have my notes. Owen Kless. He's completing 71% of his throws right now. He's over 1,978 yards through the air and 21 touchdowns. If you take his rushing list, he's over 2,000 yards, and he's 3rd out of all the players in Florida in total yards. So this guy is an absolute stud. And for Wakulla, who started 1-2, they're now on a 4-game win streak, and they beat some pretty good teams. They handled Godby 38-21 last week. Jeremiah Washington also has 1,200 yards rushing for Wakulla. And this defense gets to the quarterback. They have 24 sacks on the year, and they have also with 10 players having at least 1 sack. So that front 7 by Wakulla is very impressive. But they do allow the points to be scored. They've outscored opponents 225-142. So South Walton has the chance to score points against this Wakulla team. I'm thinking this may be a shootout, and I know Phil Teza doesn't like to throw the ball, but it seems like he's going to have to unleash J.D. Brown tonight. I think it's going to be a shootout in Santa Rosa Beach, which is going to be very exciting. Unfortunately, we won't be there. I'm only going to be at Freeport and Baker because I thought that was going to be a really fun game, but if that game turns out to be a barn burner, Christopher, I think we may have to just drop anchor and head our way to Santa Rosa Beach to see the finale of that game.
Man, I'm not against that. And while I'm thinking about it, let me pull up the picks for this week because I think it's important that we have them in the show for once because I have forgotten them. Well, guys, these are our picks for this week. Freeport at Baker. The line is 20 points for Baker. What do you think about that line, man?
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points.
I think the highest locally we've seen was Milton versus Gulf Breeze last week, and it was 44.
Mm-hmm.
Gulf Breeze covered. Good for them.
Hey, good teams win, great teams cover.
But on paper, you look at this matchup, this Freeport Baker matchup, and you have probably 2 of the best quarterbacks in Northwest Florida playing each other. You have Justice Baldwin at Baker, and then you have Carter Nunez at Freeport. So on paper, these are 2 teams that have very high-powered offenses. But for some reason, Freeport has entered a 2-game slide. They played Catholic, and they had their worst performance to season to that point. Then they played Freeport, and they actually statistically had their worst game offensively that they've had all season long. So can Freeport bounce back against this Baker defense? I don't know. That is going to be the biggest question for me going into this game. I know for Baker, their playoff hopes are sort of on the line here.
Mhm.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, they are 8-0, but if you look at all the other teams in the Rural Division, they're also like 8-0, 7-1, it's 6-2. They have pretty winning records, so Baker can't afford to drop a game, and especially with them being 10th in the FHSA rankings out of 16 teams that go, they sort of need to win this game. If they win this game, I mean, you can't leave a 9-1 team out of the playoffs, in my opinion, if I was the FHSAA. So I'm going to take Baker to win, but I think Freeport covers that 20-point spread.
I think the trade that we would have to see made, right, is that Baker they are 8-0, don't get me wrong, but when you look at the teams that they've played compared to the teams that like a 1-5 Madison County has played, right? Madison County's played Pace. Madison County has played Bay, and they've won one of those. And when you look at who Baker's played, I mean, it's rural, independent, rural, 3A, rural, or I guess Alabama, rural, or Alabama, 2A, rural, right?
Yeah.
So I get why they are behind other teams like Bluntstown or Gadsden County. I mean, it's you can't just give it to it, right? And if you're gonna, it's like Boise State, right? Everybody says like, hey, they're undefeated. Why they left out? And back in the days of yore in the BCS, it'd be like, yeah, they're 12-0, but they played the Little Sisters of the Poor.
Yeah, you play in the Mountain West Conference with the Hawaiis and the San Diego States of the world.
You keep Hawaii out of your mouth, all right? So you need to check yourself.
The Rainbow Warriors with Colt Brennan in the late 2000s that's a name. RIP.
700 passing yards a game, like
RIP to the GOAT Colt Brennan. I mean, he gone too soon. But looking at Baker and who they played, their closest game on paper, if you look at the box score, was Northview, and Northview's 1-6, and they beat them 22-19. Outside of that, I mean, you have a blowout versus Vernon, blowout versus Central, Rutherford. You handled business. You beat Zion Chapel pretty handily, and you beat Houston County. I off the top of my head, I can't think of a team that they've played right now that has a winning record. But then again, this is rural football. And there's not many teams there's like 50 teams in rural play in Florida. So, I mean, there's not like world beaters here. I mean, Madison County in other parts of the state is like, I mean, they took it to Pace, man. Like Pace survived a trip to Madison County. Like, it's not like these rural teams are soft, but I mean, you can only play the people on your schedule, and the FHSA looks at strength of schedule going into the playoffs, which is why Baker's 10th. So if they win, they beat Freeport. This is sort of I think would be their quality win on the season. And then they play Port St. Joe next week at Port St. Joe to end their season. And then they're kind of stuck idle on Halloween while all the other rural teams play. So, yeah, man, if you blow Freeport out tonight, good job. And then you have a Port St. Joe, which is in district as well. I mean, they need to score as many points they possibly can to solidify a playoff position for the FHSA. But if Freeport wins tonight, I don't know where the rural championship game is. I wouldn't be making hotel reservations, but I would be making, reservations to probably go see like Bluntstown or something like that.
Yeah. And so who do you pick in this one? You picking Freeport? Are you picking Freeport with the points, or are you taking Baker?
See, I'm going to be at this game, so I want this game to be competitive, right? Because the last two games I was at, they've all been running clocks. I'm going to take Baker to win outright. I think Baker on paper is probably the better offense, and they have a better defense than Freeport does. I mean, we've seen Freeport give up 60 points before in shootouts.
Cottondale.
So I think Freeport covers the spread because it is Carter Nuns, it is Dylan Thane, it is Julius Miles on that offense, and that's a big ask to stop. So I'm going to say Baker wins 45-40.
I'm right there with you. I don't think Freeport is as bad as last week would lead you to believe, or even the week before that. They've got a very good offense. This is a team that's in a bigger classification. I just don't believe that Baker is 20 points better than Freeport. I just don't. I think Baker might be 3 points better than Freeport. Might being the operative word in that sentence. I had a hard time with this because I almost wanted to pick Freeport to win this thing outright. I just think that 20 points is insane. So I'm hammering it for Freeport with points. I think it's crazy that it's 20 points. Moving on to Gulf Breeze and Navarre. It was a tough game, but somebody's got to win, Colin.
Yeah, both teams 0-7. I saw Navarre last week play Crestview. They got blown up 41-0. I saw Gulf Breeze in their last game coming off a bye. They lost to Milton 44-0. Shout out Jason Mickey. Thank you for watching. But these are two 0-7 teams looking for their first win of the season. And I've seen Gulf Breeze play twice. You saw Gulf Breeze play once early in the season playing against South Walton. I'm really glad I remember that. And it's night and day compared to both of those teams because it seems like for whatever reason, the wheels have fallen off Gulf Breeze towards the end of the year. I have no idea what's happening. I don't know if the injuries have impacted this team or, they're looking ahead to next year. But this Navarre team, they're not bad. I think they're just young. Whereas I think Gulf Breeze, compared to what I've seen them against Niceville and Milton, they're just really small. It's like kind of like watching like Jay play Niceville. It's just size. It's just they're not bad. It's just like I feel like they're just so small. And so,
I think it's a lot of kids that should be on JV, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, right, who are putting in a yeoman's effort, right? But they're also 14 and 15 years old.
Yeah.
I think Navarre has a couple older players that are going to be able to hold down the fort in this game. And so that's why I'm picking Navarre, even with the points for Gulf Breeze. I think Navarre will probably win this thing by 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm taking Navarre too. I mean, I think the line by Josh Wilson at Florida High School Football is very generous to Gulf Breeze. But I mean, by the way, this is a rivalry game between these two teams. This is the Irish. If Irish Bill's watching, I'm so sorry. I might struggle, but it's the Publix Cup Beach Bowl. I don't know why it's called the Publix Bowl, but
I love it. Why not?
If you can get corporate sponsors in your high school football game, go ahead, get that bag. But
gotta get that NIL money, dog.
Navarre is 15-3 in the past 20 meetings between these two teams. Yeah,
I would have never guessed it was that lopsided.
It's weird that people consider this a rivalry, but I mean it is Navarre and Gulf Breeze, and both towns sort of share the same climate and area and socioeconomic status.
Number of G-Wagons
and Teslas per square mile. So yeah, give me Navarre to win big and get out that win in that.
So now that you've given that 15-3 stat, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. So back in the 90s, right after the Southwest Conference ended, yes, I'm gonna do an SMU thing. Sorry, guys. SMU started playing North Texas every year. And the North Texas coach had an attitude about it. He was like, it's not fair that SMU people care about SMU. Nobody cares about North Texas. And I basically did a whole thing, and the SMU coach, I can't remember who it was at the time, but basically said, we'll meet you in any Safeway parking lot in North Texas and we'll play you. And because the North Texas wanted to back out or what have you. And so they started calling it Safeway Bowl. And I mean, SMU was pretty bad for about 40 years there. But we always beat North Texas. All right. So we got that going for us. And I think Navarre is going to do the same thing with Gulf Breeze. I think, they're 0-7, but they have a decent quarterback. They're able to move the ball. Their defense is not horrible. As I'm looking at the stats, let me pull up for Navarre. According to our grade rating system, Navarre has a C- defense, which is not great, but it is better than like Arnold, for example. And then Navarre has a C offense. So, I mean, they're not crazy moving the ball, but
I mean, Navarre has had a very tough, I think probably the toughest schedule of any team. You have Pensacola Catholic, then you're at Choctaw, then you have Mosley, then you're at Milton, then you have Tate, then you have Escambia, who's getting hot at the right time. Then you're going to Crestview, who is fighting for their life to stay in the 6A playoff picture. This is not an easy schedule for them. And right now, it seems like this Gulf Breeze game is their only reprieve from this tough schedule because they have to go to Pace next week, and then they have at Niceville. So, like, my God, like every team with a chance of a winning record is who Navarre has played this year, and it hasn't been very beneficial for them. So I get the 0-7, but to get that one win in the win column before the year's over, I think would mean the world to this Navarre team looking forward because they are young. Marquise White is probably the only electrifying player on this Navarre Raiders team. He's the leading returner in 6A, by the way. Didn't know that, but Navarre has something to clean their hat on to. But yeah, give me Navarre. Actually, I think they're going to win big. That 3, I mean, what I saw from Gulf Breeze the past 2 weeks does not impress me.
Engender confidence, as it were.
Yeah.
For the record, Gulf Breeze has a D+ defense, the third worst defense in Northwest Florida, and then they have the worst offense so far this year in Northwest Florida. So yeah, I like Navarre. I like Navarre a lot.
Look, when Gulf Breeze is 53 points for and 309 points against, like it's bad.
All right.
Things are bad.
Anyway, let's move on to a happier discussion topic. 2 near 500 teams, the Escambia Gators, visiting the hub city to go check out Crestview and see if they can pull one over on the Bulldogs. They are favored by a whopping 2 points. What do you think, man?
This is very interesting to me because when I was putting the notes together, I was looking at Escambia and, first 4 weeks of the season, West Florida at Niceville, Bay at Mosley. That's a very tough opening.
And they played Niceville 2 days after they played West Florida.
Yeah, so they've had a very tough opening stick to their season. But since then, they got a district win over Booker T. Washington. They beat Navarre, and then they beat, Pensacola, who got blown out last night. But that's not their fault. They have to play the teams on their schedule. This Escambia team's getting hot at the right time. And they're still in the playoff picture. If the season ended today, I think in their region bracket, they would be a 5 seed. They'd be going on the road to, I think, Pine Forest, which is insane to me because that whole district 1-4A has all these teams at 3-3, 2-4, 4-3 right now. They're all within like a game of each other, and they all have the ability to make the playoffs based on how the 4A region.
And there's a world in which all of the 1-4A teams make it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, and I understand why it has to happen that way with the regional stuff. But Pine Forest, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, all of these teams have compared to historical, because I'm more into with you, you've been more focused on Okaloosa and Walton County schools. I have more knowledge on like the Escambia, Santa Rosa County schools, just based on where I lived and who I covered for a long time. I mean, these schools have sort of taken a step back for whatever reason this year. I know Escambia, Booker T. Washington, and Pine Forest had a lot of seniors leave the program last year, so they're sort of in this sort of rebuilding period, trying to get back to local prominence. Because I mean, if you told me that Escambia, Booker T. Washington, Pine Forest to be sitting 2-4 to 4-3 at this time of the season, I would have thought you're crazy. Because I mean, Pine Forest and Escambia on paper at the beginning of the year probably would have won 1-4A. They probably would have been the 2 teams to go. But now they're getting hot at the right time. Billy Dunn completing 69% of his passes. James Simpson's leading the Gators in rushing 617 yards. By the way, speaking of this Escambia team, I know this is probably like off topic, Christopher, but the T-Mobile thing, I'm talking about the T-Mobile thing that all these high schools are competing against each other to get $1 million for state. Escambia is still in it. They're the only school in Northwest Florida to still be in it. So if you want to support, because, we're all neighbors, we're all friends. If you want to support, go vote for Escambia High to get that $1 million check to bump up their stadium. But moving back to the week, they're playing Crestview, who's coming off a 41-0 win over Navarre. And for Crestview, this is sort of do or die for them. They need to win out the remainder of their schedule. Their schedule is not the easiest schedule in the world coming out. I mean, they have Pine Forest, Escambia this week. Then they have Tate, and then they have Fort Walton Beach. So realistically, the best case scenario, they go 3-0 because I think they can. More likely, they go 2-1. At worst case, they go 0-3 or 1-2 because that Fort Walton Beach game is there at the end of the year. But if you look at the FHSA rankings, Tate and Crestview are the first 2 teams out of the 6A bracket. And if you're a Crestview fan, if you want to go to the playoffs, Crestview needs to win out from here on out. And I think the -2 Escambia line is a little too high. I mean, if you're a betting person, you can see this game as a push.
Mhm.
I think either team can win this game, but I think Crestview has been more battle tested than Escambia has at this point. So give me the Crestview Bulldogs to win.
Oh
in an upset.
snap! Okay,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Well, I have picked against Crestview multiple times when I should not have. They are my Niceville for you, and so I am incredibly wary of picking Escambia. But I agree with you. I think it's a push game, man, and for that reason, I came into this wanting to pick Escambia, especially because of the way they've played the last couple of weeks. But in a push game where you're given 2 points, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to pick Crestview so long as they don't try and pass the ball.
Well, they passed very well last week, but
Okay.
it is Navarre. But their bread and butter is the ground game, and getting 300 yards in the past 3 or 4 games rushing for Crestview. I mean, that is sort of what will help them win this game. The problem is, if you look at Escambia on paper, look at Escambia how they play offense and Crestview how they play offense. It's sort of the same offensive philosophy of this power option, read option type NCAA type football stuff that we're seeing. This video game mobile quarterback stuff. So it's who can run the power option the best. And I think Crestview can do it, and they have a stingy defense to back up that rushing attack. So, I mean, I think it's going to be close. Don't get me wrong. I think this will be a dogfight to all the way to the end of the game. But I think Crestview just squeaks out this win. I think like maybe 27-24.
Crestview's defense rated at a B- right now. Escambia's defense rated at an A-. And then looking over on the other side of the ball, it's looking like Crestview is a D+ on offense, and then Escambia at a B. So maybe we're wrong. I guess we'll find out. The math says one thing, but like you said, both these teams have had a lot of tough opponents this year, so we'll see exactly how that goes down. Now we got to talk about your Milton Panthers, because somebody needs to explain to me how they're giving up 20 points to West Florida.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the supercomputer over at Florida High School Football giving us that number. We'll talk to Josh about that, I assume, in a couple weeks of why this West Florida team, who just lost by a point in overtime to Bay last week, is giving up 20 points to the Milton Panthers. Now, Milton's defense is probably one of the better defenses in the area. Their offense is the one who has questions. And I was looking through the photos. I told Christopher this, but I'm going to tell all of you guys this. I was looking through the photos from that Milton Gulf Breeze game, and I saw Milton run the I formation out of the gun, which was absolutely amazing. I did not know you could do that. But it seems the veer offense that Milton is running, it seems that Ronnie Douglas is introducing new wrinkles into the veer offense, and that's certainly going to cause West Florida High a lot of problems. But for Milton, it's sort of a do or die for them as well, because they need to win out the rest of their schedule to solidify themselves as being in the 5A playoff bracket. I know Mosley's already there because they won the district title last week, beating Niceville. I know Niceville's sort of on the bubble, but Milton has sort of had a better, overall season. They are 6-1. Their only loss coming to Mosley, which was the district title, but beat Gulf Breeze, and they have Niceville coming up next week. I'm going to take West Florida with the spread, because I don't think, I don't think it's going to be that big of a blowout for Milton, but I am taking Milton, because if I don't take Milton, then
what have we fought for, Colin? What have we fought for all these weeks?
Everyone in Milton to be so mad. Now, I am taking Milton next week when they play Niceville. Milton by 1 million. I'm so confident, in fact, that I'm not even going to go to the Niceville game. I'll be at Pensacola Catholic watching South Walton play each other for a District 1-2A title. So, you guys can enjoy that loss over at the Eagles Nest, Christopher, Heath, and Hunter. I'm just gonna take a sit back, relax, and enjoy that the Milton Panthers are gonna go to the playoffs, baby.
All right. Well, last game on our schedule, SoWal and Wakulla. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back with power rankings and picks. So, real quick, man, South Walton, Wakulla, this is a nail biter.
This is
for some reason, I say it's in Wakulla, but it's not, or Crawfordville, I should say. my guy. This is a tough game. This is
the game of the week, I think, in all of Northwest Florida. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Owen Place. He's third in total yards. I can't believe that if you look at something that's north of Ocala and west of Lake City, that there's someone even remotely close to a top 3 in any stat sheet in high school football is in this area. But seeing highlights of this guy, because I had to see like, what does this guy look like on Huddle? And oh my God, you know how like Arch Manning was like the next coming of like quarterback Jesus. I think Owen Kless is the real deal.
Does he look like Sunshine though?
No, he does not look like Sunshine.
That's too bad.
Now, but this is such a weird thing to me because South Walton, I think, hasn't been. This is a tough patch for, I think, South Walton, because you have Wakulla, who is coming on a 4-game win streak. 4-game win streak, starting 1-2. And is South Walton, for me, looking ahead at Pensacola Catholic for that District 1-2A title, or are they focused on Wakulla tonight? That's going to be the big question for me. I think Phil Teese is a good coach to get them prepared for Wakulla. I think this is going to be a dogfight all the way to the end. And I know you sent a pick sheet before the game. I kept clicking Wakulla, South Walton, Wakulla, South Walton, Wakulla, South Walton, because the spread doesn't matter. It's -1. So at this point, who are you picking to win the game? And I hate to say it. Give me the War Eagles.
Brother, you're wrong, and here's why.
Okay.
The South Walton offense, we all know and love, right, has multiple backs. They have a power back. They have a speed back that also plays the slot receiver role. They got good wideouts. They've got a decent offensive line. But no one's talking about their defense. And their defense is dadgum great, all right? Mm-hmm. They're very, very good. I mean, we saw Connor Rooney put 2 back for touchdowns against one of the most prolific passers in Northwest Florida last week, against a 4-star recruit that – first of all, how are they not recruiting him to play defensive back? That kid hits hard. All right. Yeah. And so I'm watching this all go down. I'm just totally flabbergasted, but that's beside the point. I think South Walton's defense, which I believe we rate at that's an offense. Their offense is rated B-. Their defense is rated at a B. That's pretty good considering that's 3 notches above average, 2 notches above average. I like them for this game. I think Wakulla played Fort Walton Beach a little bit too close. I think Wakulla has had a couple of other close calls so far this year. I just don't think they're that great, and that's when they're away, right? And let me pull up their other games real quick, because I don't see it, man. They're an okay team, and I think that South Walton is an okay plus team, if that makes sense. 30-22 at Fort Walton, 38-21 at Godby, like you said earlier, versus a very mid Sewanee team. They were 30-23 for a win. Lost to Childs, lost to Taylor County, and then played Leon pretty well, 17-point win. I like South Walton in this game. I think they've got a complete team, and it's at home. I really, really do like these Seahawks to win this game.
See, the thing, like, why am I picking Wakulla is okay. Here's what I'm gonna say. I think so far this is the best quarterback South Walton's played all year, because it seems like for Freeport, something happened at Pensacola Catholic, and that sort of trickled down to their game last week against South Walton. Like, for some reason, it seems like Freeport's offense is sort of like entered a slide, but we're seeing an offense now who's red hot with Wakulla. And can that offense travel? And the thing about football that is one of the old adages is that the run game travels and defense travels. And so far, Wakulla's defense has been spectacular. I mean, they are giving up 20 points a game, but that offense is scoring at least 30 points a game. So it's sort of like, it sort of doesn't matter. But if Owen Kless shows up tonight, I mean, it might be a shootout in South Walton. That's so. And then if it turns into South Walton, is like, who has the ball last? That's my question. And I think Wakulla has the ball last, and Wakulla wins.
Well, dadgummit, Colin, I think you're wrong. Anyway,
that's fine.
When we come back from Can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to it and start yelling at each other like it's sports war. Or what's the guy with the old guy that likes the Cowboys on ESPN? Gosh, what's his name?
Stephen A. Smith.
Steven. No, the other guy with him.
Skip Bayless.
Skip Bayless. I'll yell at you like I'm Skip Bayless. All right, and we'll do that after this commercial break.
Okay.
You know your lawn's looking a little bit janky. All those busted up sprinkler heads, dead patches. It's okay though. Final Approach Irrigation's got you. Their experienced and knowledgeable staff will quickly diagnose the problem and get right to work fixing it. Final Approach Irrigation is the best in the game, and they'll keep your lawn looking undefeated this fall. The refs won't be throwing any flags on them. They'll do you right every single time. Absolutely fair and transparent pricing, along with honest work ethic and integrity. Check them out over at finalapproachirrigation.com to get started today. Thanks again to our friends at Final Approach Irrigation for sponsoring this show and making sure you know everything there is to know about high school football here on the Emerald Coast this season. Well, welcome back. You've had a minute to think about it. Are you gonna say that I'm right now?
Here's what. Maybe the two teams can, after halftime, stand around a campfire, sing Kumbaya, roast marshmallows.
Listen to yourself.
Maybe they don't even need to play a football game. Maybe
you're a fool. Why do I even talk to you? Why are you even on the show?
Maybe instead of putting people against each other, maybe we should come together.
Listen to yourself. You sound ridiculous. You sound like, oh gosh.
All right, fine.
All right.
I'll take someone.
There it is. That's what I needed. Anyway, moving on to our power rankings. The power rankings for week 9 are out. From
hot off the press.
Hot off the presses. And guess what? Surprise, surprise. Choctaw still at the top. Yeah, y'all knew that. And you probably knew that Pace was going to be second too. Catholic bumping up significantly to number 3. And that has dropped down Mosley Bay and Milton, who were ahead of them last week in these rankings. These here rankings. Bay down 2. I can't remember who they played last week, but not great. It wasn't. Pensacola was 2 weeks ago, right?
Pensacola was 2 weeks ago.
So the numbers just worked against them. I think that's some max press math working against Bay, as it has been all season. Sorry, Tornadoes. Milton hanging in there, lost a point, but still significantly ahead of South Walton, who did move up over Tate. Tate and South Walton have been back and forth in the power rankings for the last, I'd say, 4 weeks, ever since Milton beat Tate by 3. Baker's in there. Baker moves up. They've been in and out, as is Crestview, a new addition to the top 10. They're actually tied in votes with Niceville, but they have a lower standard deviation for all you math nerds out there. So that means that we picked more completely and agreeably on Crestview than we did with Niceville. And so that is why Crestview gets the 10th spot in this power ranking. West Florida got votes from, I think, you and me, as well as I
did not vote for West Florida.
You did not? Okay, so it was me and Irishville.
Yeah.
So Irishville and I vote very similarly, I've come to find out. Escambia is in there. You voted for Escambia, I believe. You had them at 7th. Jay has points, and then Pine Forest. Your thoughts on these rankings, my friend?
See, I actually pulled up the spreadsheet because I wanted to see where everyone else was, and I think I'm higher on Catholic for one reason, mostly is because they went through the Walton County Gauntlet so far, beating Freeport, beating Walton, and pretty handily, I might add. And to see Jalen Brown sort of progress as a quarterback for Catholic, I think if Catholic wins out the remainder, if Catholic goes undefeated to finish the season, it would not surprise me at all. Pace, I'm dropping them down because I think the injury of Makael Williams obviously hurts probably the rushing attack, but it seems like that rushing attack has not lost a step. Tag Strickenberger, the best name in high school football.
Great name.
At this rate, has sort of picked up the slack. I have Milton over Mosley for some reason because I think that's Milton bias, but Mosley did beat Milton straight up. Bay, I think, is obviously, improving really well. SoWal, I think they're the best team in Walton County. Escambia, I think they're just getting hot at the right time, and maybe I'm only seeing something that no one else is seeing at this point. But Tate losing to Pace last week in the fashion that they did drops him down. And, I've seen Crestview twice so far this season, and the eye test just impresses me. to put them in the top 10. I can't. I have to put them over Niceville. I mean, if Baker wins tonight, I think Baker enters the top 10 for me. But I don't think I could put them over Tate or Escambia or something. So yeah, that's my reasoning for my power rankings.
Yeah, and I'll just go through mine really quickly. Choctaw Pace make a lot of sense to me. Catholic, I moved up over Bay. I thought, Bay played West Florida Tech, played them a little close. They've kind of slowed off a little bit, whereas Catholic has become a little bit more dominant, in my opinion. Always keeping Mosley below Bay and then Milton below Mosley just because of the wins. And then South Walton, I moved up. I think I had them at 10th, and I moved them up to whatever that is, 7th, above Tate. I think they're playing better right now. I think they could possibly, if you played 100 games between Milton and South Walton, I think South Walton would win 48 of them. I really do like the South Walton team. And then I put Niceville in there because of their performance against Mosley last week. I thought we saw the real Niceville Eagles last week. The only time I've seen them look more dominant, more like themselves, where I think they could be, is when it was in the first half against Crestview. I don't know what happened in the second half, but in the first half, they looked great. And then on the right, the only power rankings that really matter, the FHSAA. You can see in there, Mosley's still ahead of Catholic. Bay taking over Milton. But it's good to know that, Mosley, Milton, and then way down below, Niceville, still in the running for the playoffs. Tate's in there. Crestview is ahead of Baker. But yeah, Baker's in the top 10 as well, my man. So final thoughts on the power rankings for this evening.
Yeah, I think as we are getting down to week 9 of the season, there's only 2 weeks left in the high school football season. We sort of separated the contenders and the pretenders. I would say your top 6 teams are sort of your contenders. They're going to the playoffs regardless of how the season finishes out. 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are your teams who are on the bubble looking in. I know Baker is, they're probably going to playoffs, but, they have to get through Freeport. They're still technically on the bubble. If you don't mind, Christopher, I'm going to pull this up real quick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, this, I think, tells the picture of the power rankings real quickly. You have Bay, Mosley, and Pace as your district champions, and congratulations to all 3 of those teams for what you've accomplished this season. But it seems like this is sort of an off week for the playoff picture. Is we're gunning for overall record instead of district records. I know next week is a full slate of district games, and that places the picture, makes it a little clearer right now. But to me, nothing would surprise me. All these games, I think, outside of Niceville outside of Gulf Breeze, Navarre. All these games, I think, can go either way. I think West Florida could beat Milton. And if West Florida beats Milton, where does that stack up the 5A, 1-5A playoff picture? Because West Florida is a good team. The 4-3 record doesn't really sort of paint that picture of how good this team is. But at one point, I was saying this West Florida team might be one of the best teams in the area, could be one of the best teams in the area on paper. If Crestview somehow loses to Escambia, is their season over? Because Escambia is would be 4-4, and where does that put Tate? This is all interesting to me. And next week I think next week is going to be a lot of playoff talk because of Milton versus Niceville. You have Choctaw Fort Walton Beach. That District 1-2A title will be secured. I feel like it's the season finale is next week, and we're getting to the build up, right? That penultimate episode of a TV series. Sort of, we're building the suspense. We're making you tune in. That's what I think week 9 really is shaping up to be.
Right on. And, the other thing we got to talk about are these offenses and these defenses are going to help them get into the playoffs. Zach asked, if Mosley finishes 9-1, do they have a shot at the number 1 overall seed? And based on the math that I'm seeing from FHSAA, I don't believe so.
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to pull up.
Yeah, we're going to do the math real quick for you while we're live on the air because of who we are as people. We just have to answer that question. 5A. Let's see. Rating. Whoops, I went too far. They are.
So right now, Ponte Vedra is number 1. Ponte Vedra is number 1. Mosley, Beachside, Mainland, Lincoln, Milton, and Middleburg in Niceville are your 8 teams right now, currently in 1-5A. What if Mosley finishes 9-1? This is more of a Josh Wilson question, but I'll take a stab at it because I've sort of dug deep into 1-5A over the past couple of days. A 9-1 team, I think, would go to the playoffs. But the part of the FHSAA's ranking system is strength of schedule. That's sort of like their big thing. And right now, Mosley's strength of schedule is at 2.1, whereas Ponte Vedra is at 6.6. Milton actually is negative 0.03. It's whatever this. I think they're 0.03 behind the standard deviation or whatever that is. And I think what's putting Milton ahead right now is I think they beat Tate, who at the time was undefeated, they were 5-0. They lost by 2 to Mosley, but their strength of schedule, I think, towards the back half of the season is a little tougher because you have to go to Niceville, and then you have that final meeting with Pace, which is a rivalry game for Milton and for both of those teams. So if Milton won out the remainder of their schedule, if they beat West Florida tonight, I'm going to say they beat Niceville next week, but that's just me. That's just me saying as a Milton homer.
So let me throw a little context in this. So for Jason or for Zach's question, which I think is a really, really good one. The number 1 team, Ponte Vedra, has 3 games left on its schedule. They have Orange Park, Creekside, and IMG Imagine. So the 4th tier team or the 3rd tier team, right? All these teams are 500 and under, right? And Ponte Vedra is already ahead of Mosley in the power rankings. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying it's very likely Ponte Vedra wins out. And then Mosley has, whoops, that's the wrong. I almost played a bunch of music. Mosley has, forgive me.
I think they have Arnold. They have Arnold on their schedule remaining. It's a very weak. Yeah, they play Arnold tonight and then they play Gulf Breeze and then their season's over.
To me, you're probably going to score 35, maybe 42 points in both of those games. You're probably going to mercy rule both of those guys, and that's not going to do too much for your power rankings because that's where they expect you to be, right? It's a lot more powerful to beat a really good team by 14 than it is to beat a really bad team by 35. And so I think Ponte Vedra is going to keep that number 1 spot. Just looking at the numbers, kind of a brief overview, but that's a great question that we'll ask Josh. But that's my answer.
and the only thing saving grace to their schedule is they do play FSUHS at the end of the year. That's their final game of the season. Right now, the Seminoles are 4-3, and they still have, I think, 2 games left in their district schedule as well. So they'll see how they finish out. But
I think if FHUSS had played or had 1 more games this year, I think they're. What are they, 6-2 right now?
They're 4-3. They're 4-3. They play at Madison County tonight and at Bishop Moore, which Madison County is 2-5, but they took Pace to the limit.
So and their power ranking reflects that. So if FHS, so here's the,
just call them the Seminoles.
Yeah, if the Seminoles win all their games before they play Mosley, and then Mosley beats them, and Ponte Vedra plays a little bit closer than they should, then yeah, I think it's possible. But do I think it's likely? Probably not.
No.
Great question, Zach.
Yeah, that is a very good question. Any other picks for tonight? Hold on, let me pull up let's pull up the school board. Why not? Unless Christopher doesn't want to pick any games because, whatever.
What?
Someone asked if we have any quick picks, any more other picks for tonight.
Well, let's look down the
Sure, why not? Let's go quick. Mosley Arnold. Mosley, right?
Mosley all day.
Pace Pine Forest.
Pace.
Yeah, Pace. Tate Booker T Washington.
Tate.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Tate too. St. Michael beat Pensacola 50-13 last night. Jay versus South Choctaw, Alabama.
I'm gonna take Jay. Why not? I have no clue who South Choctaw, Alabama is, so I'm gonna take Jay.
If you look at the graphics, I have no idea who they are either because I couldn't find a graphic for them. So I'm going to take Jay as well. Go Royals. We'll go from the bottom up because we have to shut out this team because they're playing their final game of the year. Rocky Bayou playing Graceville, who's 1-6.
I like Rocky Bayou in this game. Rocky Bayou is on a 3-game win streak. Graceville is a very small rural team near the back of the 567 power rankings. I like Rocky, and I like them big. I like them by 3 or 4 scores.
Then we go to another a rural matchup, which Christopher absolutely despises.
No, that's not even true. That's not even true. I am realistic about the propensity for them to beat a 6A team.
We have the 1-6 Northview Chiefs, who are always tough to play. They're going to go on the road to face the 7-0 Bluntstown Tigers, who are currently number 1 in the region, in the rural region right now.
I think it's closer than I don't think they mercy rule them.
Oh, I don't think so either. I think Northview actually shows up and plays.
I think they lose by 21 or 28.
We have 2 more matchups today. With the Destin Sharks 1-6 at Chipley 6-1. I saw the line on this. I can't remember it, but it was, I think, a Chipley by 44. I'm taking Chipley to cover that spread.
I think that's probably healthy. Junior Harris, shout out to Junior Harris for, by the way, putting in flipping yeoman's work at the running back position for Destin. He's still getting like 150 yards a game, and they're getting absolutely beaten out of the barn every single week. And he still manages to get 150. I don't know how he's doing it, but good for him.
I don't know. See, I don't know either. And with the injury to Makael Williams from Pace, I mean, we haven't really tracked it. I'm so sorry, but we haven't tracked the rushing stats up, but I think we'll get that out this week.
Yeah.
I think Junior Harris is now the rushing title holder right now, and he has to be. Because of the work he's put in. And I just got to shout out that, I mean, the Destin season has not gone the way that I think that most people would expect it. New coach, EJ Green, coming over to the Sharks. You know, if Destin wanted to get a playoff spot, they'd have to win out because they're independent this year. You know, they'd have to go undefeated. But for them, 1-6 with one of the best running backs in the state of Florida, that's not too bad. So for them, final game, we have the Walton Braves at Bay. I think Bay is also a 40-point favorite as well. So who you got for that?
That's bananas. There is no way that Bay is 40 points better than Walton. And here's why. Walton's defense is spectacular. They're not Choctaw good, but they're very good. And so for 40 points, I think that's bananas. And I will take Walton with the points, but no, I'm not going to take them to win outright. I think that they're still a very good team, though, and I think 40 points is just like not it.
And then final game, Choctaw versus the bye week. You taking Choctaw?
Look, if everybody stays healthy and nobody does anything stupid, then yes, I'm taking Choctaw. I think they're a well-disciplined team. I think that the coaches got them. Here's the thing, is that you listen to Frank Beasley's, and I think this is actually like a really good pick, right? Is that like, can Choctaw not hurt itself, right? In the sense of like, you know, doing something stupid or getting suspended. Like, but I listened to Frank Beasley's speeches at the end of games, and like, he's got those guys locked in. He's like, look, we're going to go win a state championship, and you can either be on the train or not. Right. And we yell at you in practice, and we work you hard, but that's because we absolutely believe without a doubt that you're the best team in the state of Florida, at least in, you know, classification 4A. And when you have somebody teaching that, and when you have the guys' eyes locked in on that at the end of the game, after 4 quarters of just putting it out on the line, those guys are not the guys that go out and start like sneaking alcohol. And those are not the guys that go and like do something stupid. And those are not the guys that get an F on a test, right? Because they want it bad enough. And I think they've waited for when did they go to the Final Four? Was that 5 years ago?
I think that was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years? Wow.
It was Final Four, and then they ran into the brick wall that is St. Augustine now.
But St. Augustine is 5A this year, and I think these kids remember that, and I think that they want to win the whole thing. And by golly, I think they can do it.
Well, right now, if the season ended today, St. Augustine's the 1 seed, Choctaw's 2. You have Columbia, E.D. White, Pine Forest, Escambia, Booker T. Washington, and then Rickards. Right now, Arnold is on the outside looking in by about a point.
Yeah, so by golly, I think Choctaw is the best dadgum 4A team in the state of Florida, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'll say it with my whole chest. I think that defense is spectacular. I think the offense is average plus. And I think the defense wins championships. And like you said, the running game with Vontavious Keller and the defense will travel, and the passing game might not, and that's okay.
It doesn't even have to be Von Keller. Carter Morocco could also
That's
carry
true.
the rock too. Like this Choctaw running back room is absolutely loaded with talent. And
So to end it, I think Choctaw takes the win against the bye week. Even though we said it facetiously, I think that these kids are locked in. I think these kids want it bad enough. And so, yeah, I'm rooting for them. I mean, I don't know if I was playing with my son Patrick, and we were kicking the soccer ball around. And he looks at me. And so you got to remember, this kid is 3, and the only high school that he's ever seen with his own 2 eyes, I'm pretty sure, is Niceville High School. And this kid looks at me and he goes, "Daddy, you SMU, me Choctaw." And I was like, Choctaw? I was like, do not let your mother hear you say that. All right.
Isabel, I think Choctaw can beat SMU at this point.
They might. Nah, they can't. They can't.
I mean, SMU plays Clemson this week. You'll be fine.
We don't play Clemson. We play them next week. We're on a bye. I think we're on a bye.
No, you play Clemson this week.
Dadgummit.
At Clemson.
We'll still win.
At Death Valley.
Ponies by 50.
Death Valley. Hokies are going to lose against the bye week this week. I'm sorry. They're just that bad. They're really bad.
It's tough. Well, before we leave, y'all, I want to show you the top 5 offenses based on our algorithm. Bay overtaking Pace, who has, of course, lost Makael Williams. So they're just a hair ahead of them. Looking pretty good. Freeport still has that A, even though they have really taken some hard L's the last couple of weeks. Baker moving up the rankings, and Catholic moving up the rankings to round out that top 5. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Choctaw, or as my son says, Choctaw. Milton, I totally agree with that. Tate, totally agree with that. Pine Forest, I need to do a little more research on this algorithm. And Walton, yeah, okay.
See, the thing about these algorithms, and real quick before we go, is that some of the teams in these algorithms beat other teams so badly that the other team does not want to put in stats for that loss.
That is
which
true.
Is totally understandable. I get it. I'm not hating on it, but please put your stats in, because that way we can, like, that's why Junior Harris is being recognized, because he's so good. We want to recognize these kids, because some of these kids are really, really good. Yeah.
And so before we leave, Zach asked, what is Mosley on offense? Pulling that up for you on my handy dandy Excel spreadsheet. Mosley is a B+. They have a B+ offense, and they have a C defense, according to our stats. So,
I mean, okay. So real question before we go. Does Bay score more than 30 points tonight?
No.
See, I don't think so either. I think they beat Walton, but they don't score more than 30 points.
But I think they win it like whatever that is, 21 plus 2 field goals, 27-7 or 27-10.
I mean, it's gonna be a low scoring game.
I think that Walton offense is going to give up a lot of bad field position. That's why I'm giving them so many points.
But they're so young. That like Walton, I feel like if Walton didn't lose Wells Bettenhausen and didn't lose all those 10 of they lost 10 seniors on last year. Like, man, like with this defense, with that offensive potential we saw with Wells Bettenhausen last year, I mean, this could be. Imagine if Wells Bettenhausen stayed for like one more year of eligibility with this.
Hold back your kids. Hold back your sons. Listen to me.
1-2A would have been insane.
Shout out to all my Niceville parents. Hold back your sons. All right. Hold them back. They don't need to go to first grade. They don't need to do that right now. All right. I was held back, and I'm relatively
you turned out fine. You're a journalist.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I do this for a living, but other than that,
you guys. I went to third grade twice. My mom told me that was normal.
Yeah, it's 3-3. So Arnold, he said, Zach says, if Arnold scored almost 30 on them, Bay definitely will. We're gonna find out.
Yeah, shout out watching Bay County though.
Yeah,
shout out watching for Bay County though.
Yeah, but love my Bay County peeps. That's what we got for you this week. We love all y'all. And have fun at the games tonight. We will be back next week, hopefully with more people.